Good morning, everybody. I'm Ed Parcaut, and I'm here with Mike Kelly. Finally, he showed up. Finally, he's
Yeah, I was out screwing around, is trying to pick up a cockroach.
whatever. Okay. All right. Why don't you go ahead with your numbers first?
Okay, I was just going to check the S&P. Let's do this. Numbers 577. Look at those listings. They were 880 last week. They're 879 this week.
So it's the same ones. They
No,
just lost one.
they just lost one. Yes, they relisted everything that they listed last week. Sold the other one.
But that could still be new listings are only as of that week, or
right, as of that week.
Okay.
So this is week ending May 3rd.
So what's the number of total listings? You follow me?
Yeah,
we need to have that number.
We looked at that earlier in the week, and I was kind of blown away. It was 100,000, like 8 something in the state of California. But then I pulled up another article through CAR, and it showed that in March we had 247,000 closings. So we can't have 100,000 listings in California if we had 247,000 closings the month prior. So I think those numbers were skewed. Anyway, some people are busy. It's good to see 33.8% of listed properties. So that's up 10%.
So 1 in 3 listed a property.
Yeah, basically.
So out of the how many thousands do we have in California?
Well, two places. They said 200 and like 200,000, 140. And then the other one was a DRE said licensed real estate agents was over 400,000.
Right. So let's say 300.
Yeah.
Right. So for every 100,000, so that's
someone listed something.
33%. Yeah, it's
not great
because there was only 100. I think we checked it was 100,000 active properties on the market.
Yeah.
So with that being the case, that means 1 in 3 could actually sell a property.
This is very true.
Yeah, of all the listings. So that's 2 other people are starving.
Yeah, there's a lot of
and
starving.
That's one closing. That's only one closing.
There's a lot of starving realtors out there right now. Yeah. A lot of starving.
All right. I don't have much today because all the news was earlier in the week. Washington enacts statewide rent cap. This would be, I assume, Washington State. They did a House Bill 1217 into law, making Washington the 3rd state in the U.S. to implement a statewide rent cap.
Well, that'll bite them in the ass
Oregon
later.
and California. The law limits annual rent increases to 7% plus inflation, or 10%, whichever is over lower.
Now, is that per year?
Yes.
Okay. So guess what landlords are going to do?
They're going to do exactly what they did in California, raise rent every 10 years. Thank you so much for giving us that law.
Yeah.
A stricter 5% cap applies to manufactured and mobile homes. Okay. Legislation aims at providing stability for 40% of Washington residents who rent and migrate unchecked rent hikes that threaten housing stability. Yeah, that's what the problem is. It's not your wokeness.
Yeah. Well, it probably is. Well, no, it definitely is.
Yeah, well, they've been having problems because when Blake bought up there, I don't know, 3 years ago, or whenever, 2 years ago, I think it was. Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of houses on the market, and he's actually having issues with the house they have. They have like 2 actual breaker boxes to the same outlet.
What?
Yeah, it's like all mess up. They've had some issues. Like one room, they lost power, and they found it was a wire that went bad, and they had to replace that. That was almost a year ago. And then just recently he's gone and his wife's there, and the kitchen's not working now, and there's an issue. And
that's not good.
Yeah. And so he's like, can you go after the sellers who would have known this? Well, I go, call your realtor.
Yeah, call your realtor. And you don't know if the seller knew it because it may not have happened then.
Well, the other thing is they were gone a lot. They were military.
Yeah.
So they weren't home all the time. Well, and who knows, maybe that exact thing didn't happen and they didn't know that's how they set up the house when they built them.
Right. That is odd though.
Yeah, very odd. I would definitely talk to your real estate agent because there should have been disclosures, a lot of other stuff. And again, every state's different.
Well, those two, so you got a panel and a sub panel, or maybe a panel and a panel, but they both should have been inspected and looked at.
Right, but they don't. Yeah, but they're not marked right. Like there's one panel, that breaker that does the kitchen, and one switch in the family room.
Huh.
But their whole house is kind of weird how it's set up. Just different.
It is different.
They don't have HVAC though we have it. They have little registers in each of the rooms that control certain things, and they don't have air because they don't have air conditioning up there. because there's only like a month that they would need it.
gets
Well,
warm.
I would definitely get air conditioning.
Yeah, just to be comfortable that month.
Yeah, if I lived there.
Yeah.
Federal land sale proposed for housing development. House Republicans, I almost said representative Republicans, have proposed for provisions in their tax cut package, authorizing the sale of hundreds of thousands of acres of public land in Nevada and Utah for housing developments.
Yeah.
Yeah. This plan targets up to 200,000 acres in Clark County, Nevada, and 350,000 acres in Pershing County in, I guess that would also be in Nevada, because it doesn't say, because someone's going to tell me that maybe that was Utah. I don't know.
Could be.
Critics argue the move endangers sensitive areas and prioritize corporate interests, while supporters claim it will generate at least $18 billion in revenue. Sell the land that's doing nothing, build some houses, and make them affordable for people to live.
Yeah. Well, they won't be able to make them affordable for everybody, but some people.
Well, no, because if they're probably selling it, but they're probably going to sell it at a discount and not at full price. I guarantee you.
Yeah.
Home prices rise in first quarter 2025, according to your National Association of Realtors.
Mine.
Not mine. Home prices rose more than 80% of U.S. metro areas in the first quarter of 2025.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so
affordability
depressing.
remains stretched. Few buyers could afford homes.
You know, there's an article, I think it was the San Francisco Chronicle, and I think it was back in 1916. And the article said, there's no way we can keep supporting these rising prices. You know, in a home was going for $16,000 back then. And they were just completely out of whack, way too high for the general public to be able to purchase. And we had to do something about affordable housing. Guess what? We're never going to be able to fix
affordable housing.
Yeah.
Because, but as values go up, people's income goes up.
Right.
It's just, despite the modest improvements in housing affordability expected this year, primarily due to rate cuts.
Right.
U.S. housing affordability will remain at its worst in about 4 decades. That'd be so. For those of you who don't know, a decade is 10 years. So that's 40 years.
40 years.
Home prices are predicted to continue a moderate rise, reflecting expectations from previous surveys. However, the supply of homes remain constrained, partly due to existing homeowners remaining in their house because they got extremely low interest rate.
Yeah. Yeah. 40 years ago, I was 24 and thinking about buying my first house.
Were you?
I was just thinking about it. 2 years later, I did.
Yeah. So that's really all the news that was out there.
Yeah. Not a lot of news, but listings are up in the state of California.
Yeah.
Not so much here in Stan County.
Actually, I mean, overall, Central Valley and San Francisco is the most affordable, where things are happening right now.
Right.
Where in the rest of the state, Southern California and stuff like that, it's slowing down. I have a client who's been trying to buy a house for the last 4 years down there. Might be able to get into it now, and I got to get back to him because he's been emailing me on my other email.
Uh-oh.
Well, he came to me from one of my podcasts on Internet, and he owns he owns a company in Oceanside, California. And we were talking about how he could buy a house because of how the company was set up. And then we've been trying, but it's just the competition was so strange.
Super stiff, right?
Yeah. But now it's not so bad down there.
Good.
Yeah, because everybody's like, I can't afford it.
Patience.
I'm not a doctor.
Well, but you got a patient.
I don't need to be patient.
Hey, it's Friday.
That's right. And so that's all I have for today. And by the way, we'll be on the radio tomorrow if you care.
Yes, you do care. We said some.
We always say
stuff.
Some things.
Yeah. Some great
good or
stuff.
bad.
All right, kids. Have a great weekend.
Yes, and thanks for being here. And we will talk to you on Monday.
Ciao, brothers,
All right.
sisters.
Bye.